Tracy Dorcas on sign language. Welcome to Switch Focus. Now, thousands of Thais have taken to the streets of the capital of Bangkok demanding reforms of the monarchy after the Constitutional Court ruled last week that a call for reforms to the monarchy by 3 protest leaders in August last year was unconstitutional and designed to topple the institution. Now, Shilangetich starts the bulletin.
Youth-led protests that began last year by calling for the removal of Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, 66, the former coup leader, have become the biggest challenge in decades to the monarchy, which is constitutionally enshrined to be held in revered worship. Protesters marched against rows of riot police behind shields, waving placards that read, "No absolute monarchy." The king's increased power in recent years are pulling Thailand away from democracy and back to absolute monarchy. Protesters also marched to the German embassy in October last year to urge Germany to investigate whether King Maha, who spends much of his time in the country, was conducting state business from there.
Authorities only want to do the things they want and see people with opposing views as the bad guys, so they think that we're trying to topple them. If society continues like this, how can we move forward?
The protests have broken long-standing taboos in Thailand, whose least majesty law sets jail terms of up to 15 years for anyone convicted of defaming the monarchy. Since the protest began last year, at least 157 people have been charged under the law, according to the records compiled by the Thai Lawyers for Human Rights Group. 3 protesters were wounded on Sunday, according to the police spokesman, adding that the incidents were being investigated. Shilangetich, Switch TV.
Now, in other news, as China works to keep the COVID-19 pandemic under control, health authorities in key cities have not lost track of the important health goals for children as such campaigns to administer free HPV vaccinations to young girls. Harichi Mea with more.
Cervical cancer is the 4th most common cancer in women worldwide, yet it is easily preventable through vaccination at a young age. The city of Jinan in East China's Shandong province began its free jabs this month, while Xiamen in the southeastern province in Fujian began in October. South China's Guangdong province aims to achieve full vaccination for girls in the entire province. Guangdong will invest 600 million yuan to offer free HPV vaccines for girls under 14 years old, starting from next September. This decision was announced earlier in November and is expected to boost the HPV vaccination rate in the region and has been welcomed by residents in the provincial capital of Guangzhou. In China, the latest figures show that there are approximately 110,000 cases of cervical cancer in 2020 and are up by 4% from 2018. Deaths from the disease rose by 25% to 59,000 in the same period. The vaccine to be administered in Guangdong province will be bivalent type, which can protect against more than 70% of cervical cancers that are caused by type 16 and 18 HPV infections. The bivalent HPV vaccines now are in sufficient supply in China thanks to domestic research and development. Reporting for Switch TV, my name is Harriet Chimea.
Now, in Japan, low sugar and sugar-free food market has continued to boom in recent years, with market scale and sale volumes reaching 550 billion yen this year, which has resulted in continuous decline in the incidence of diabetes among the high-risk groups. Now, Sazamunga with more.
Due to the advocacy of health diet and strict limitation of sugar-contained foods, the population of diabetes patients in Japan has dropped from 1 million to roughly 10 million people compared with 8 years ago. To prevent and treat the illness, which can be ascribed to a sedentary lifestyle and fat consumption, the Japanese prefer choosing sports and diet rather than medicine. When a patient is diagnosed as a diabetic or belonging to the high-risk group, doctors can coordinate with pharmacies and nutritionists to design a food plan for the patient.
I don't think diabetes should be treated with medicine at the beginning. Even a patient with high blood glucose should regulate his blood glucose through diet and exercise at the first stage. We will monitor to what extent it can be reduced and decide how to prescribe.
Various kinds of low sugar and sugar-free foods for diabetics has been brought to the Japanese market in recent years, including the customized frozen bentos. Patients can buy these bentos at about 500 yen for each, once for a whole week or even a whole month, without getting trouble in recipes selection and sugar content circulation. Japan has established standards and regulations for sugar-free and low-sugar diet market. The multi-billion market is now booming with a steady rate of 5% annual, which has greatly contributed to the decrease of high-risk diabetes population. According to data in the Ministry of Health, Labour and Welfare Survey, the average life expectancy of diabetics in Japan has extended for about 10 years compared with 3 decades ago.
Now, Yasi Highway, a 240-kilometer long road connecting Yan and Xichang in southwest China's Sichuan province, is regarded as a ladder-like sky road. The road is a combination of viaducts and tunnels with a total length about 41 kilometers. Apollo James with more.
Changing fall colors form stunning views over recent days in forests beside the double spiral tunnel of the Simian section of the Yan-Xinshan Expressway in southwest China's Sichuan province. The tunnel merges with the expressway and is hailed as the sky ladder up in the air. The larch, wild maple and other trees on both sides of the road are covered in red and orange. People traveling on the highway have a panoramic view of ravines, valleys, mountain slopes, alpine meadows, and colorful forests at every glance. The wonderful experience of a Chinese saying, "Cars on the road, people in the middle of the painting," is possible while driving on this section of the highway. The double spiral curved tunnel of the Simian section of the expressway is the first of its kind in the world. The tunnel circulates 360 degrees to increase the altitude and reduce the road slope of the expressway. The difficulty of the greatly varied terrain of Hangdu Mountains in southwest China has been overcome through this ingenious design. The tunnel is also selected as one of the 100 most beautiful sceneries in Sichuan province. Apollo James, Switch Television.
Thank you, Apollo James, for that story. Now, the Dubai Air Show, held every 2 years and considered the most influential event in the Middle East, has opened again this year. More than 160 types of commercial, military and consumer aircraft from more than 20 countries will be demonstrated during the year's show. Sharon Nyoike with the story.
Dubai's Biennial Air Show opened on Sunday, with aviation and defense companies hoping to clinch billions of dollars in deals at an exhibition that is expected to be quieter than in the past due to the subdued state of flying and travel amid the COVID-19 pandemic. It comes as an opportunity for the hard-hit aviation sector, traditionally the star of the 5-day aviation trade show that is expected to attract more than 80,000 visitors. The airline industry as a whole is recovering from last year's roughly $138 billion net loss. The exhibition will also see the participation of defense and military hardware from countries like the US, Russia, and Israel. More than 100 companies from the US, including defense firms Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, showcased their products at one of the biggest shows in the Middle East. Israeli companies displayed their hardware for the first time at the show, following Israel's normalization of diplomatic ties with the UAE last year. The state-owned Israel Aeroscope Industries showed off a range of manned and unmanned naval and aerial drones. The 5-day event features a vast array of cutting-edge weapons and advanced fighter jets, which are brought by over 1,200 exhibitors from 148 countries and regions. Aircraft manufacturers are showing off their proud products, such as prototype of Russia's Checkmate fighter jet, the latest Boeing 777X, and Bombardier Global 7,500 jets. Due to the surge in pandemic, major air shows such as the Paris Air Show and the Farnborough Air Show have been cancelled one after another. The organizers believe that the Dubai Air Show will inject confidence and certainty into the global trade and boost the sustained recovery of the aviation industry. For Switch TV, I'm Sharon Nyoike.
Thank you, Sharon Nyoike. Now, Hong Kong's highly anticipated M+ Museum, biled at Asia's premier visual institution, finally opened its door to the public and is offering free admission for the first year. With its sheer size and wide range of contemporary art, the new complex is expected to be a major contributor to the growth of the region's art scene. Sheila Ngetich with the story.
Touted as Asia's first global museum of visual culture, it is designed by renowned architecture firm Herzog & de Meuron in partnership with locally based TFP Farrells and Arup. M+ covers 65,000 square meters in the West Kowloon Cultural District, a large arts development project in the city.
M+ in terms of scale and the ambition surpass all local museums. We have 17,000 square meters of gallery space, and which is equivalent or on par with like Centre Pompidou and Tate Modern. And indeed, this museum has very close relationship with M+. They are already talking about collaboration in future.
In total, 1,500 works are presented within 17,000 square meters of exhibition space, which spans across 33 galleries and other display spaces. Divided into 4 chapters, namely Here, Identities, Places and Beyond, the exhibition presents Hong Kong through multiple and intersecting perspectives that mirrors the city's dynamism. In the East Gallery, the exhibition area of things, space, interaction displays over 500 examples of design and architecture that have had a profound influence in Asia over the last 70 years. Aside from the artworks, which all have an Asian element, the building's architecture is also a highlight. A spiral staircase in the middle of the atrium leads to the rooftop garden. With 2 voids on each side, the staircase connects through the whole building so people can see the space through 3 different levels. Outside the building's exterior, inspired by the Chinese rooftops, is covered in green terracotta tiles, forming a modular facade system. The museum, billed as Asia's premier art institution, is expected to boost the cultural development and exchange in Hong Kong. Sheila Ngetich, Switch TV.
Thank you very much, Sheila Ngetich. Now it's time to take that short breather. We have a lot more lined up for you with stories making headlines worldwide, so keep it Switch TV. Welcome back to Switch Focus. My name is Saza Mungano and sign language is Tracy Dorcas. Now moving forward, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has begun his visit in Kenya as he begins his first visit to Africa as Washington's top diplomat. Now Blinken will also travel to Nigeria before ending his trip in Senegal later this week. In Nairobi, he is expected to discuss with President Uhuru Kenyatta the crisis in Sudan and Ethiopia. American diplomacy has so far failed to achieve results in Khartoum, where the army overthrew a transitional administration last month, and in Addis Ababa, where fighting between government forces and the TPLF rebels has grown more violent. U.S. Horn of Africa envoy Jeffrey Feltman has been to the region several times, but the situation in both countries has not changed. Now, President Kenyatta was in Addis Ababa on Sunday, where he held talks with the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. This expansion project of the Rumi Diwopu International Airport in northwest China's Xinjiang region is underway, with the airport set to be an important international aviation hub connecting Central and Western Asia. Apollo James narrates.
The airport includes a new terminal of 500,000 square meters, 2 runways of 3,000 meters each, an integrated transport hub of up to 92,700 square meters, a parking building of over 250,000 square meters, as well as auxiliary facilities. The roof of the terminal is a steel structure whose design was inspired by the Tishan Mountain, meaning the Heavenly Mountain, one of the largest mountain ranges in the world. Workers first welded the steel on the ground and then lift the steel structure with hydraulic lift. The steel roof consists of 20 parts, and the workers just finished the largest one, which is 3,200 tons in weight, in recent days. It took them 48 hours to hoist the steel structure composed of 20,000 different steel tubes. It took 200 workers 2 to 3 months to assemble those tubes. They used ultrasonic fault detectors to check the welding junctions so as to make sure they're up to standard. The Urumiki Diwopu International Airport has a runway which is 3,600 meters long and 45 meters wide and 121 parking spaces at present. After the completion of the expansion project, the airport will have 2 more runways and 177 more parking spaces, and the flight area will be upgraded to the highest level and able to accommodate large aircraft such as A380 and handle 48 million passengers annually. The extension project is expected to be completed by 2023.
Now moving over to Mexico, where it's stepping up training of tourism agencies to attract more tourists from China as it eases travel restrictions related to COVID-19, with the country aiming at attracting more than tourists this year. Najma Noor with more.
A tourism town in Mexico, Michoacan State, used to be a tourist attraction for its unique architecture, famous ice cream and iconic Day of the Dead celebration each year. However, among millions of international tourists, the numbers of Chinese tourists accounted for only a small part, about less than 200,000 before the pandemic, according to the local tourist authority. At Hotel Porto del Cielo, the indoor designs are tailor-made for Chinese tourists. For example, there is no number 4 figures visible in the place, hot water is available, and the mirrors don't face the bed, which are all common Chinese practices. The management knows how to make Chinese tourists feel at home, because they have the training to do so. The government has been offering them instruction and certification.
We have just held our Day of Death celebrations, and we've received a lot of Chinese tourism, which helps our local establishment to see this as an opportunity to learn how to better attend to those international visitors.
In the hope that more Asian tourists will come, Mexico's main tourism industry is holding training courses known as Weilag.
Linking certain tourist destinations in Mexico with specific regions of China to encourage a more personalized experience is far more effective rather than targeting a country of 1.4 billion people as a whole.
PATSQUAR has set an initial goal of attracting 2 million Chinese tourists a year so as to help the tourism sector bounce back to its pre-pandemic level, according to the municipal authority. Najma Noor, Switch TV.
Now, Beirut Marathon attracted thousands of runners of all ages. Now, the marathon comes at a time when the country was facing, the marathon comprises 4 categories, namely the 21.1 kilometer para athletes, 42.195 kilometer marathon, 21.1 kilometer half marathon, and the 8 kilometer race. The event had been suspended for the past 2 years due to the country's difficult political and economic situation, the 2022 Beirut explosion, and the outbreak of COVID-19. Organizers decided to hold the event this year to bring hope to the people of the country. Now, a state-of-the-art warehouse built by Chinese telecom giant Huawei in Brazil, Sao Paulo, is highlighting the potential of 5G in boosting productivity as Brazil begins to roll out the technology.
Earlier this month, Brazil raised around $8.5 billion in an auction for its 5G frequencies to interested mobile phone operators. In the city of Sorocaba, a scene out of a sci-fi novel plays out day in, day out at a smart warehouse operated by Huawei. The robots know their way around the Huawei smart warehouse with precision. Through a 5G network with 12 antennas, they get information on what each sector of the warehouse needs and collect the material which they will deliver to the correct line. The robots are the most distinctive feature of Huawei Smart Campus, a fully automated warehouse set up by the Chinese company not only to improve their operations but also to showcase what 5G can bring to Brazilian businesses. At the warehouse, all incoming parts and products are tagged with RFID labels, so forklift operators can easily get the information on where they have to be stored, then quickly retrieve the material when it's needed for production or be shipped to customers. The 5G revolution is coming and Brazil wants to be in position to make the most out of it. But for that to happen, experts say heavy investment is needed to bring the country telecom infrastructure up to speed. Huawei is one of the world's biggest players in providing 5G technology, and the Chinese company wants to show it's ready to take a leading role in Brazil's development of its telecom network. Apollo James, Switch Television.
Brazil's inflation rate soared to an unusualized high of 10.67% in October. Official statistics highlighting challenges the central bank faces to rein in prices and as citizens struggle to survive the fiscal crisis.
The country inflation rate was the highest since the country's worst ever economic recession in 2016, said the country's National Statistics Agency, the Brazilian Institute of Geography and Statistics. IBGE data shows that prices of daily necessities from water, electricity and gas to food, beverage and travel and dining services has significantly increased by 19.94% to 85.37% within a year.
In my circumstance, I have to up my workload by 20% to 30% to make up for the inflation, at the very least. But I'm in the service sector. It is not easy to find work these days.
Local media reported that gas prices in the country rose 3 times in just 30 to 40 days, and as the highway freight volume accounts for more than 60% of the total logistics in Brazil, the rise in gas prices has triggered a chain reaction, further pushing up the prices of essential goods. In 2020, the per capita consumption of beef in Brazil hits its lowest level since 1996 and is forecast to fall by another 4% in 2021, according to a survey by the National Meat Supply Company.
Last week, I bought about 4 kilograms of meat and today I have to buy half of it for the same price. There is just no way to buy that much with the same amount of money.
Business at many restaurants are also languished since many people have opted out of restaurant dining.
Our restaurant used to be packed with people. but now there are barely any people on work days.
The latest data also shows that the unemployment rate in Brazil still hovers at 13.2%, while the average annual income nationwide has fallen by 10.2% so far this year, the biggest drop since 2012.
The cumulative total of confirmed COVID-19 cases in the United States has surpassed 47 million as of Sunday, with the death toll topping 763,000 as the U.S. Center for Disease Control warns that a number of mammals have been found to be able to transmit coronavirus.
In the past week, the number of newly added coronavirus inpatients had been on the rise in 11 states, while the number of new deaths also risen in 17 states, according to local media reports. Among the virus-hit states include Pennsylvania, reporting nearly 10,000 new cases per day, the highest number in the whole country so far, and Vermont, with the highest vaccination rate, also saw the number rise to the highest level of the year and is continuing to grow. Medical experts say that the new round of coronavirus infections will last for long, and as none of the states has vaccination rates as high enough, such repeated outbreaks are said to be inevitable. In addition to human infections, 3 snow leopards have died at the Lincoln Children's Zoo in Nebraska of complications from COVID-19. The zoo announced the tragedy on social media, saying that there were a total of 3 snow leopards and 2 Sumatran tigers tested positive for the virus last month, and the tigers are soon to make a full recovery. The zoo said it remains open to the public and continues to take precautions to prevent the spread of COVID-19 to humans and animals. Daniel Kariuki for Switch TV News.
Well, that's all we had for you this lovely evening. My name is Saza Munga, and on sign language you have Tracy Dorcas. Keep it Switch TV.